You just need to unmute your microphone.
Good morning, all. We'll just allow a minute or two for everyone to join the stream.
Yeah. The stream, the webinar, the call. Very exciting. It's still early morning. Well, not that early. It's 10 o'clock, but we're very excited for everyone to join. Gary, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Crystal?
Very good. Very excited to talk all things e-commerce, my favorite subject.
Indeed. It's a very, very popular subject around the UAE.
It is for sure. Um, So very good. I guess as everyone is logging in, Gary, we're just gonna let everyone know if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the Q&A section where you'll find it somewhere on your interface. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to go through the Q&A questions. Well, we're gonna try to do a Q&A at the end. Or we're gonna try to also sneak some of your questions in as we are discussing all the things that we want to tell you about.
And often the question and answers is the best part of these webinars because we can apply the theory to live examples.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
generally each case is individual, it's unique, and often the answers to certain questions will help others in ideas and what they need to do to prepare for their own business.
Well said. So yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. First of all, thank you very much for joining us. My name's Gary Thompson. I'm the Commercial Director at Virtuzone. I'm joined by Crystal today. And Crystal is the founder and managing director of the Amazon Seller Society. Crystal has a strong passion for entrepreneurship and a knack for problem solving. And she's based in Dubai, and she's been instrumental in the growth and the success of the Amazon Seller Society, which is now the leading Amazon service provider in the GCC region. So very well done on that, Crystal.
Thank you.
Crystal has a keen eye for the potential in the e-commerce landscape, and her team are at the forefront of empowering and assisting Amazon sellers. So we'll touch on selling via Amazon later. And Crystal also plays a pivotal role in organising events and initiatives that benefit the Amazon seller community in the Middle East. And myself, I've been in the UAE for 6 years now. I've been with Virtuzone throughout my time. I'm now the commercial director, and I'm responsible for all new business that comes into the company. My background is law, so I practiced law in the UK for around 10 years before moving, and then I moved into the corporate and commercial world. And my focus is setting up companies, dealing with complex structures, and helping those who want to enter the UAE market with navigate the landscape, and also help those who are growing restructure to suit their growth needs.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gary. We're all very excited. So I'll let you get started.
So why e-commerce? The global e-commerce market is thriving, and it's going through a period of rapid growth. Although these figures are a little bit outdated, in 2020, global e-commerce sales reached $4.28 trillion, which was a 27.6% increase on 2019. The e-commerce penetration is also increasing, with more consumers turning to online shopping, and businesses really have an opportunity to capitalize on this. And there's new sectors and new opportunities growing every day in the e-commerce market, whether it be drop shipping, whether it be selling online, promotional material, promotional ads, and you'll also see that there are a lot of influencers these days that are essentially making their living from social media content and from promoting certain products. What really interests you in the e-commerce world, Crystal? What opportunities do you see in the UAE?
I think e-commerce in general, Gary, first of all, I think it interests a lot of people that are looking to set up their own business, maybe for the first time, because it's what we call an easy entry to market. It doesn't require you to have like a traditional setup of an office and employees and stuff like that. But mostly the great thing about e-commerce is that it helps brands, businesses, manufacturers, literally anybody sell all over the world. That's very unique, because if you think about the alternative of having retail stores and trying to expand, it's just so difficult. As in, you can be in the UAE and have your own setup and then sell to somebody living in the US, and just have it like seamlessly integrated into your own business. If you have products, if you manufacture products, or you could just simply get started from zero. So it's really about the potential. In the UAE, we find that the great thing about the GCC in general and the UAE in particular is that it is an emerging market. And as you know, Gary, both of us are expats to the UAE. The great thing about the country here is that you can get into it and get started and ride the wave of the growth that the whole market, the whole GCC, the whole region is experiencing, rather than starting a business in a saturated market like the US, for example, where it's just so difficult and so that requires so much capital for you to be able to even compete.
And yeah, it goes against the grain a little, because when I first moved here, I found it quite strange that there were so many malls. Like in other countries, real estate is really struggling.
Yeah.
Malls are closing down, physical offices are closing down, whereas in the UAE, even now, you're seeing new malls pop up every day.
Yeah.
And I think I seen a figure when I first came here that something around 4 or 5% of business was done online,
Yeah.
which was really, really strange compared to other countries. But I've seen a sort of rapid growth in that over time. And you see convenience options
Convenience.
popping up all the time, like Deliveroo doing really well in the UAE, Talabat, and things like InstaShop, where all of those are in essence e-commerce models, and they're making it more convenient for people to get what they want. And it's really getting faster and faster and faster. Like now, it's quite common to get a delivery slot within 15 minutes of actually making an order online, which is incredible given the size of the country.
That's 100% true. And actually, according to the statistics and data, it shows most people in the UAE in particular order products online exactly for the same reason that you just suggested, which is convenience. Versus if you go into maybe European countries and the US as well, most people do that because of the price. They're looking for lower prices. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone likes to get a good deal, but this is not a very price sensitive market, which makes it really good for sellers.
Indeed, indeed, and with good people with extra resources, then there's more margin to be made and more profit. And also, as you touched upon, if you're selling in other countries, you can have the real unique benefit of being in the UAE, having the tax advantages of being in the UAE, but also penetrating the markets such as America or UK, where generally there are quite high taxes on personal or company revenue.
That's true, 100%.
And if I just pass over to you, Crystal, for the opportunities and challenges for e-commerce sellers in the UAE, like, well, what's your thoughts, and where is there a gap? Where can people actually thrive? And also, where are the hurdles? Where do people fall down? What do people not think about? If someone's wanting to set up an e-commerce business, what's the pros and what's the cons?
Perfect. So, for everyone that's joining us today, what we wanted to do, myself and Gary, Virtue Zone and Amazon Sellers Society, we wanted to give you a 360 view about e-commerce and registering your e-commerce business in the UAE, but not just for the UAE or the Middle East market, but to also be able to sell globally. So we're going to talk about that in a few. However, let's talk about, I know most of you joining us today are probably in the UAE right now. And obviously, you want to get started in the market where you are present. It just feels a little bit within your comfort zone, let's say. So, the great thing about the UAE, for anyone that's ever visited, for anyone that lives here, you guys know how incredible this country is and how much opportunity is there. And it's the same for e-commerce, really. Now, but of course, like all things in life, there are opportunities and there are challenges. So the opportunities is we find that e-commerce market, like I said, this is an emerging market. The numbers are just every single statistic that you look at gives you extremely exciting numbers. As you can see here on the slide, we see that the e-commerce market is projected to reach 27 billion by 2022. We're seeing a year-on-year growth of about 11% in the e-commerce space throughout the GCC. And that's incredible numbers when you compare it to any other market. Again, this is what happens in an emerging market. And right here, you are in the middle of an emerging market. The reason for this is, we love to use the internet. So internet penetration is about 90% in the UAE. And it's actually very much similar to the GCC as well. We see people like internet penetration about 90 to 99%. And we just love using our internet. We just love using our phones, our apps, and we value convenience. And like I said before, this is not a very price sensitive market. It doesn't mean that people don't want to get a good deal, but still people do have maybe a little bit higher level of disposable income and they're willing to spend that online for purchases, whether you sell on your own website or you sell on Amazon. And you've got a lot of options to get started with, but Amazon seems to be a very popular choice for obvious reasons. We'll talk about it later on, but there is a good consumer spending. Look, we like to spend money. Now, the challenges are, like a few people just wrote in the Q&A, Smitten to be quite exact, is saying Amazon marketing and selling in UAE seems more challenging than other countries. Can we get direct training here in Dubai? By the way, you can go to our website. We'll show you at the end how you can contact us so you can get more information about that. However, yes, each and every market has its challenges. Look, just because we say e-commerce business and we're pretty excited about it and there's opportunities, doesn't mean that there's no challenges. This is business. And just like anything, there is going to be challenges involved. And yes, because e-commerce is such a, unique opportunity right now, there is a lot of, well, Gary, can you just give me an example of anything in business in the UAE that doesn't have competition? Well, I can't think of anything. Like there is competition, right? In anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in the UAE, there's also quite a successful copycat market where
Yeah.
people see something that's doing well in another country and they just try and implement it exactly here in the UAE, with maybe grand plans to be bought out. Like Kareem's a good example, who
Yes.
basically copy and pasted the Uber model, then they were bought out by Uber. So yes, in the industry you'll find that there's always competition, but e-commerce is quite a highly competitive market. Same with real estate and other different sectors. But I think what you really have to do is you really have to set yourself apart. You have to do something that's unique. You have to do it well. You have to master it, and then there's still opportunity, because with that growth that you mentioned, 11% year on year, more people are moving to buying things online. I always have the frustration when I go to Amazon, if I want to buy something, sometimes it's quite hard to find a good quality product.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the UK, anything you want, you can get. Whereas in Amazon in the UAE,
Mhm.
sometimes if you're looking for something sort of trivial, like a hose or like something for the garden or something for your house, it's actually quite hard to find a very, very good high quality product. And that just shows that there is opportunity there to master something that's missing, bring it in, find a good supplier, set up your good supply chain, set up your business model, and plug that gap in the market.
Very well said. Exactly. I think there is opportunity in anything, but you just need to think about the ways that you can differentiate yourself. And I think, Gary, because we find like so many people that move to the UAE, just even if they've never thought about entrepreneurship, you just get so excited. You get swept up by this incredible country and all of the opportunity that you want to, even if you have a full-time job, you think, well, okay, I also want to open my own business. And e-commerce is a lovely way to get started as well. Now, one of the challenges also is, of course, this is a very new sector, e-commerce. So you kind of get some issues with finding good delivery, logistics, companies that can help you, because this should not be, by this I mean e-commerce, should not be a business where you cannot manage it wherever you are. So even if you decide to travel 6 months to Bali, your business should survive without you physically being in the country where you sell, because it's e-commerce. It's supposed to be a global business that you can run from anywhere and sell anywhere. So you find a little bit of a struggle there. And also, and this is very spot on, building customer trust, spot on with what Gary was just saying. It does make it easier when you sell on marketplaces like Amazon or Noon, because these companies have been building trust with customers for years, because they've been doing incredible customer service. There's a lot of however, you can't just rely on selling on marketplaces. Maybe you get started there and then you have to build your rapport. Just like Gary said, it's all about selling a good product, very much similar to how the retail model works, but applying it to the online space.
And yeah, that's a very good point, Crystal. Like dealing with aggregators like Amazon and
Mhm.
other marketplaces, it's a very, very good way to start.
Yeah.
It gives you exposure. It lets you make the inevitable mistakes that you're going to make. It can be something that you can do on the side with a lot less effort than actually
Mhm.
doing everything on your own. But of course, it comes at a price. They take quite a large proportion of what you sell, but they do a large amount of the work for you, and they give you access to the market at a much more rapid rate than you would be able to get yourself. So using these platforms, at least as an accelerator at the beginning or as a test case at the beginning, lets you then build up your business, find out what's going to be profitable, what's not going to be profitable, and then you can carry out a numbers exercise as to whether or not it's worth bringing it in house, or whether you should move from being a free zone company that does everything remotely to being a mainland company that carries out the logistics yourself. But those are the sort of interesting decisions that you can make as your business grows.
Exactly. So let's move on to the next slide, Gary.
Yeah. So
Perfect. Yeah, I'll
why
I'll let you get
why the
started with
UAE?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the question. Why the UAE? So everyone always says that the UAE is in a strategic location. The UAE didn't choose where it was located, so I say that it's well connected. That's a good geographical location. It's a gateway to the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and it provides you access to a vast customer base. Um, I touched on this already. There are tax benefits to being in the UAE. As most of you will probably be aware, corporation tax has now been implemented. In the past, there was no corporation tax. The good news is there's no income tax. So if you are going to reside here, or this is going to be your country of tax residence, all the income that you make is tax free, and seems like it will remain tax free for a considerable period of time. The infrastructure here is excellent. It's growing, it's developing. it gives you real good scope to build a business. And what Crystal says about finding partners for last mile delivery or for the different segments of your business, once you've mastered that and you've got people that you can trust and rely on, then your business can thrive. But be aware that not everyone does what they tell you that they're going to do. So you have to really find strategic partners that you can trust and that you can rely on. And I think if I'll pass it over to you, Crystal, for the global selling
Yeah.
potential, because that's really your area of expertise. You
Mhm.
don't only help people sell in the UAE, you also help people sell across the world.
Yeah. One thing that we wanted to highlight for anyone that's with us today is that operating online with a UAE business license, a free zone business license, or a mainland business license, and Gary will be talking about those in a few, the differences between both, will give you the potential of not just selling in the UAE or not just even in the Middle East. However, you'll have the possibility of selling anywhere because it is a legitimate business license that you can use all over the world. So you can set up payment gateways through companies like Stripe. You can open your own Shopify account. You can gain access to Amazon in the UAE marketplaces or all over the world. As you know, Amazon has 22 marketplaces and it's currently even adding more marketplaces. South Africa is going to be added this year. They're just going to be announcing it soon. So it will allow you to expand globally through this one business license. And like Gary said, if you opt to also live in the UAE, then you will pay no income tax, which is very valuable while you are building your business for sure. Before we move on, Gary, I just found a question which was pretty, I think maybe we can touch base on it, or maybe if you like, we can just move it along. But someone was asking if they would require, so Anton is saying, if I'm not in Dubai, am I able to open my e-commerce company there without physically going there?
So the answer to that is yes, you can, but you will need a visa to get a bank account in the
Mhm.
UAE. And the company registration process can generally be completed completely remotely, but the visa process requires you to be in the country for a part of it. So the visa process can be started before you get here, but to finalize the visa, you physically need to be in the country because you have to go for a medical, you have to do biometrics, and then you have to wait until your physical Emirates ID is delivered. And due to central bank regulations, you need to have a physical Emirates ID before you can open a bank account. Now there are ways around it. Like for example, you could set up a company completely remotely, and then you could use a bank in another country.
Mhm.
Some people do that. Often the banks will charge higher fees because it's a higher risk account. But if you want to have a complete remote setup, that there is a way to do it. But generally, operationally, it's better if you set the company up here, get your visa, and then the visa normally requires that you come to the country once every 6 months. So if you're able to commit to do that, then great. If you're not, then we can look at the more complex kind of workarounds where you can use other banking providers in different countries to plug that gap so that everything can be completely remote.
Perfect. Great. So moving on.
Yes. So this is the fun bit. This is where my legal side starts coming back out. Um, so setting up in the UAE, we make it easy for you, but it is a little bit of a minefield. There are over 60 different legal jurisdictions in the UAE. Each have their own policies, procedures, prices, advantages, disadvantages. So sometimes you can choose any of them and that will be fine for your business. Sometimes your business model or where you want to do business or who you want to do business with will dictate which jurisdiction you should set the company up in. Now, the jurisdictions are broadly categorized as free zone companies, which most people are familiar with, a mainland company, and also an offshore company. Now, a free zone company it's like a state in America. There's more than 50 different free zones. It's a small geographical area, and the free zone has its own rules and regulations, but is also governed by federal law. So the idea of a free zone is you're only supposed to operate from inside that free zone or outside the UAE. Now, the way that we get around that with e-commerce is you partner with logistic companies, third-party warehouse, 3PL providers, so that you can operate your e-commerce business from your free zone, but the actual physical delivery or the physical importation of your goods or the storage of your goods is dealt with by another third party. A mainland company is the most flexible type of company. It's usually a bit more expensive than free zone companies. And the mainland company allows you to physically operate anywhere in the mainland of Dubai if it's a Dubai mainland company. So you could have your own warehouse, you could store your goods, you could deliver your goods, you can do everything. Or you can operate the same way as in a free zone if you wish, but you have choice of having physical location across anywhere in the UAE. So if you're doing something that's a sort of relatively small scale setup, or everything can be done completely remotely, or you're not going to require a large amount of staff, then a free zone company would be most suitable. If you need a lot of staff, or you need an office, or you want to store your goods yourself rather than paying a 3PL provider, then mainland would be more suitable. And then offshore is like a holding company. So if you're looking to get seed funding, if you're looking to grow your business, if you're looking to bring in investors that want protection of having common law rather than Sharia law, then an offshore company, which would be a holding company, can be implemented, and that can be added to the structure to make it more legally robust. So throughout your business journey, whether you're small scale, large scale, growing, looking for investment, Virtuozone can help you throughout that process. We can advise you on what would be the best structures, what would be the most suitable options, and what would be the advantages and disadvantages of doing it a particular way. And Crystal, I think, can tell you a bit more about the sort of practicalities and the operations of running an e-commerce business from a free zone, because most e-commerce businesses are operating from free zones.
For sure. So free zone is the best, or what we see is the common option that e-commerce businesses normally use in order to set up their legal entity, whether that be existing e-commerce brands throughout Europe that want to enter into Europe or the US or anywhere that want to enter into the UAE market, or it's local anyone that's local to the market that wants to get started selling online in the UAE. I think, Gary, the reason why most people opt for the free zone company is because of the difference in cost between registering a free zone company versus a mainland company. However, like Gary touched on, mainland companies do provide you a lot more access to a lot different options, which he can get into if you need.
Yes.
With that being said, what we normally do as free zone company owners, you would be able to sell in the UAE if you have a distributor. In this case, Amazon or even Noon, these marketplaces do act as your distributors, because technically speaking, you cannot do business on the mainland via your free zone company. So I think that would be the main difference, Gary, if I'm right.
Yeah, you've absolutely nailed it, Crystal. That's correct. So, although free zones are supposed to keep their business within the free zone, partnering with someone who can then do the legalities on the mainland for you is exactly what you need to do. And although often the prices for Amazon and other places can be quite, kind of on the face of it, seem quite high, they take care of all the logistics and all the operations for you. They store, they warehouse, they stock, they deliver. They can do everything they can do everything for you, and you then need to source the products, and you can also then have your own separate e-commerce store. where you can make higher margins, but the volume of traffic and the widespread availability of Amazon and Noon and these large market players really give you an advantage in penetrating the market at the outset. And we've got a couple of relevant questions here in the chat regarding legal structures. So Trisanthi has asked, can someone start with a free zone company and then change the business to mainland?
Gary, can you check your audio because I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can't hear you. No.
Hello? Hmm? Yeah. I think my audio is still working, yeah. Can you hear me? I think it may be the speaker at your end, Crystal.
Oh, Gary is audible, so I guess it's my problem.
Yes.
Okay, Gary, please keep going. I'll figure out if it's my option,
Okay.
if it's my
Sorry.
problem.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So Trisanthi asked, can someone start with a free zone and then change the business to mainland? So the answer to that is no, you can't move a free zone company to the mainland. But what you can do is one of two things. You can either open a branch of your free zone company on the mainland to give you the same benefits of being on the mainland, or you can close your free zone company down and open a mainland company as your business grows. And that's actually a natural progression that you see a lot of businesses doing. Now, what I would recommend in that circumstance is that you always have a period of overlap. So don't stop and start. Don't have the free zone company closing on day one and the mainland company opening on day two. Make sure that you have a period of overlap so that you can deal with banking, VAT, corporation tax, customers, logistics, payment portals. That's a real key recommendation that I would give you.
Perfect.
Adil has also asked which free zone doesn't require a physical office. To be honest with you, most free zones don't require a physical office, and that's why they're more attractive
Affordable.
at the beginning, because a lot of
Or
people,
attractive, yeah.
yeah, a lot of people dealing with e-commerce, they want to do it online, they want to do it from a different country, they want to be a nomad, they don't want to pay for office space that they're not going to use. And that's really why free zone companies are often quite attractive in these circumstances.
But you are required to have like a hot desk in order to be able to, but that's just a hot desk. That's not an actual physical office, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
the business has to have a registered address,
Address, yeah.
and the key requirement for that is for visa purposes and for banking purposes. So
Okay.
immigration require that the company has at least an address, and banking requires that the company has an address or has a facility of some sort. So some people have a flexi desk, some people have a smart desk, some people have a physical desk, some people have an office. There are lots of different types of commercial space registration, and the key requirements are for visas and for banking.
Perfect. I saw a great, really great question from Pravin. He's saying, I visited the DED cafe and they mentioned it's 1,500 dirhams to register as a freelancer or a freelance business license. Let's just call it freelancer. And I'm confused as to what that is versus a free zone company or a business license.
Yes, so you need to be careful sometimes when you're dealing with jurisdictions directly, because you're not always going to get the best product for what you need. Now, what the DED Cafe are referring to here is what's called an e-trader license. Now, it goes against the grain, but an e-trader license actually does not allow you to physically trade or electronically trade unless you're a local UAE national or a GCC national. So to have a trading activity, you cannot have that with what's been recommended by the DED Cafe. Now, what you can have is you could have marketing, or you could have Porto, or you could have some other activity, which is a service that you can provide online. But that is not the correct licensing requirement for what you want. Now, what you would be much better with, Pravin, is a free zone license. And if you already have a visa, which is a requirement to have a e-trader from the DED, if you already have a visa, you can set up a company in free zones that start from 6, 7, 8,000 dirhams, not 1,500, but having the company gives you the correct activity, allows you legally to trade, and that's really what the best solution for you would be here, assuming you already have a visa. And if you already have a visa, then there's lots of cost-effective options. If you don't have a visa, then it puts the price up a fair bit as well. But what you also really need to be aware of is it's not just having a license. You also have to do accounting now. You also have to register for corporation tax. If you meet certain thresholds, you also have to register for VAT and file for VAT. And one key recommendation that I would always give you, which is something that Elena has touched on, is that if you're dealing with multiple countries, you also have to check the tax position in those countries as well. So if you're selling in the US, or you're selling in the UK, or you're selling in Europe, we can only really advise you in respect of the UAE regulations. But if you've got a large scale operation that's turning over millions of dollars in America, for example, you need to make sure that there's no VAT implications or there's no tax implications. And the best way to do that is to speak with an expert in that particular country, because what you'll find here, and what you'll find actually across the world, is that experts for America, for example, they either deal with the US or they deal with the rest of the world. It's very, very difficult to find someone that gives you advice on both. So a key consideration is to get advice in the relevant countries that you're dealing with, particularly if your business is growing. Like if you're only doing small transactions, then the cost would outweigh the benefit. But if you're doing a lot of business in other countries, then you need to take account of that.
Elena is also in a precarious situation, or like a very unique situation, because she's not just selling in the US, she's selling on Amazon in the US, which means
Yes.
she needs to take her taxes very seriously, because Amazon is very aggressive with those things. And she might, if she's not doing the proper due diligence with her taxes, her account might even be closed on Amazon or suspended.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sometimes the aggregator imposes the regulations, sometimes they don't. But as Crystal says, Amazon are quite strict on that with America.
Yeah.
So the taxation and financial benefits, we've already touched on that already in what we've discussed, the corporation tax, the tax incentives. I know that most of you will be dealing with business to consumer here, but there is actually a potential tax benefit for business to business. In the UAE, there's a potential tax exemption, so that if you're selling business to business online, or you're selling business to business physically, only business to business from country A to country B that doesn't involve the UAE, then you could potentially be exempt from the 9% corporation tax. So if your business model fits that, we could look at discussing it. But other than that, if you're selling to a consumer in any circumstance, you're liable for the 9% corporation tax. And we've got quite a lot of questions coming in, so we're going to try and move through the slides a little bit faster, so we can get to the questions, because ultimately that's the most important part when we can apply it to real life scenarios. Setting up a business in the UAE, we can make it quite easy for you. Generally, a free zone license for e-commerce is best. If your business is larger, then a mainland company would be better. We can help you with banking, accounting, VAT, all of those services. Virtuzone offer that. And
Gary, can you give a quick, because a lot of questions were related to the timeline, like
yes,
how much time does it take for a license? How much, I saw a few people asking how much time it takes for a visa and stuff like that.
yeah. So it it depends on where you set the company up, so it varies. But a license can be issued in 3 to 5 working days. Sometimes it will take 3 weeks, depending on the jurisdiction. The visa process generally takes about 2 weeks. So the process is set the company up, which can be anything from 3 working days to 3 weeks. Get the establishment card, which is the immigration file of the company, which normally takes 2 or 3 days. Apply for the visa, which normally takes about 2 weeks, just broadly speaking. And after your visa is issued, the Emirates ID can arrive anything up to 10 working days. Normally it's between 2 and 5 working days. And then once you have the Emirates ID, you then apply for the bank account. And once you have the bank account, you can then set up your payment service provider. So ballpark, it would take between 6 and 8 weeks to be operational. That would be a sort of safe timeline. Can it be done faster? Yes, absolutely. It can be done much faster. Like if we do it through mainland, we could have a mainland company, a partner visa, and a bank account within like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, possibly. So it's difficult to give you the specific timelines because every jurisdiction is different. And with over 60, that general timeline that I gave you, I think is fair.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And Crystal's already touched on the access to global markets from the UAE. That's really the key advantages. So setting up in the UAE, there's tax advantages, there's a favourable business environment, it's a convenient location, and you've really got access to those global markets. Now, just touching on a couple of offers that we have, just to give you an example of setting up a business. Now, this would be perfect for an e-commerce company. This is the Works package that we offer. So this would be a trade license in the UAE. It would include one visa. It would include the business activity that you require for e-commerce. But most importantly, it also includes all your compliance, because that's what people forget about. It includes your VAT registration, corporation tax registration, corporation tax filing, accounting for 12 months, a business address in Dubai, a Dubai phone number, all these different things. So on the face of it, it might seem like quite a high cost, but actually it includes everything that you would need for a year.
Mm-hmm. Including accounting, which is now something we need to start thinking about because we weren't thinking about it prior. So yeah, that's good.
Absolutely. And if you don't do it, you're going to get fines.
Yes.
And the fines likely will start next year. So you really, really need to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of you might have heard about the golden visa, which is a 10-year visa. We also have a silver visa package that's available where we can essentially make you qualify for a 5-year visa instead of a 2-year visa. So lots of countries like the UK, for example, to get the real tax advantage of being an expat and taking the money back with the double taxation treaties, etc., you need to spend potentially 5 years in the UAE or 5 years out of the UK. So this is something that could be quite attractive to you. And then, as I touched on before, if you already have a visa, if you already have a job and you want to do this on the side, then there's licenses available from about 6,000 dirhams that you can set the license up and away you go. I really, really wouldn't recommend the DD Trader for this because it's not suitable for what you need. I get that a lot of people are price conscious and a lot of people are attracted by the fact that it's 1,500 dirhams, but unfortunately it's not legal, it's not suitable for what you want to do.
And it's not, Gary, just to touch on that also, because I forgot to answer Parveen as well, or Pravin, sorry. The DED e-trader license is not something that you can use in order to sell on Amazon. So it's not it's not a type of license that is approved by Amazon or Noon, which are the biggest marketplaces here as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll move to the question and answers now. I'll take the slide down after I just give you Crystal's contact details. So if you want to contact Amazon Seller Society about selling a product on Amazon, I think you also offer services as well, Crystal, where you can help actually find items that aren't readily available here and give ideas as to how someone could potentially set the business up.
Yes, we actually started this program a couple of years ago because a lot of entrepreneurs were reaching out to us and they wanted to, get started. They didn't know where to get started from. They just wanted to get started in the e-commerce space. So yes, we do have a program where we can set you up from the beginning, find the right products for you to sell, and help you sell them on Amazon in the UAE or all over the Middle East. We're specifically focused on the Middle East market. We see it as a very emerging market, and we're very excited to help and support you in anything that you need, really. And any questions, just email our team at support@assmiddleeast.org. You can also go to the website, assmiddleeast.org, and check out anything that you require in all of our programs as well.
And for contacting us, when you close the Zoom meeting, there'll be a pop-up link for a Calendly invite where you can arrange a 15-minute free consultation with one of my team who can talk you through any business needs or any specific inquiries that you have. And I think that's really, really important because what you need is subject to your specific requirements. There's no one size fits all in this industry. Everyone has an opinion, but we have the experience, the knowledge, and the impartiality to give you the license that's going to be suitable for you now and suitable for you in the future. Or alternatively, if you prefer to email, you can email marketing@vz.ee. And we've already had quite a lot of interest in this webinar. For example, Lana Sirka has already contacted us and set up her company to do e-commerce selling yoga equipment online. So well done.
Wonderful.
And the license can be issued within a matter of days if you already have a visa. So well done on that. And we'd be happy to help you, whether you want to contact us first, whether you want to contact Crystal first. We work often together as a sort of package where ultimately what's important for you is that you have a business that's going to work and a business that can operate. Like, a good idea doesn't make a business, so you need to think through all the specifics from start to finish. And if we move back to the questions now, we've got quite a few that we can try and go through. Okay, so
it's difficult choosing, huh?
Yeah, there's so many. So Abdul can two partner visas be issued under one license in a free zone? Yes, it can. Free zones and mainland, you can have multiple different visas depending on the package and the requirements that you have. Mohammed Kamran Shafi's asked, is the silver visa package mainland or free zone? It's a free zone license. Do you want to have see if there's any that you can pick out, Crystal? I'll pick out some as well.
Sure.
Khaled has asked something that might be relevant to you, and maybe a tricky question. Will Amazon play a role in cost saving rather than running your own business?
Yeah, that I saw that question and I wanted to answer it as well, because you touched based a lot, Gary, on saying how important and vital Amazon is for somebody that's just starting out. Well, guys, if you think about it, if you had the opportunity of opening a store, if you're very brand new, you're a new brand, nobody's heard of you, and then Dubai Mall calls you, the biggest mall in the world, that says, okay, come on over, open your store here, and you'll get exposure to all of these hundreds, millions of people that visit Dubai Mall every single day, every single month. I don't know the numbers, but I think they're very high. And then you get exposure to all of those people. That's what Amazon does. Amazon has created a platform with a big, loyal following. Some people are just addicted to purchasing products on Amazon because of so many things. We don't really need to get into it. But when you sell your products on Amazon, you're tapping into those customers and you're able to showcase your products in front of millions of customers versus setting up your own website, which is something that you should also do. But when you set up your own website, how are people going to find you? Well, what you will need to do is to start marketing online and advertising online. And that can be very expensive, of course. And after that happens, once traffic comes into your website, now you have to build confidence because, as you know, it's not easy to buy something online from a website which you've never seen before. You might think it's easy, but the truth of the matter is, no, we want to feel confident when purchasing things online. And now you have to build that confidence with customers. So it's not really easy when you're starting off. And that's why Amazon can help you with all of this. On the other hand, here comes the back end things that Amazon supports you with, such as logistics, delivery, fulfillment. All of those things are things that you need to think about when you're doing the business all on your own. Whereas you can do them via Amazon. Obviously, they're not going to do them free of charge. They do have their fees. However, it's so much easier for you if you are a solopreneur, if you're starting out on your own, or if you've got a very small team, to do it on Amazon and then expand beyond that.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Ferman has asked a very, very common question that we see all the time. I understand it's difficult to open a bank account for any corporation and more complicated for a free zone. To be honest with you, we don't really have that problem so much anymore.
Yeah, correct.
It used to be a problem, but the UAE has worked very, very hard on fixing the problem. And we also now have a sort of disruptor in the market, which is called Wheel Bank. And Wheel Bank now opens for free zone companies, mainland companies, and you can actually have a bank account within 1 or 2 days in some circumstances, generally within a week, and it's fully operational and your card is delivered the next day. That's like a breath of fresh air in the UAE, because normally it takes between 20 and 25 working days for a traditional bank account to be opened. So although Wheel is online and digital, if you're in the e-commerce space, I'm sure you'll appreciate that, whereas other more old-fashioned people still like the traditional banking system, but the timelines, unfortunately, are not very business-friendly. Zishan has also asked, can you change sponsors on a mainland license? The answer to that is yes, but actually you don't need a sponsor anymore. So for 99% of activities in the UAE, you don't need a local partner anymore. So that was actually often a barrier for people setting up a mainland company. It's also, I think, Crystal, in fairness, why a large majority of companies are actually set up in a free zone, because people didn't want to have a local partner. They didn't want to have someone else on their license, and that's why they chose free zone. Also, someone asked someone asked a question about sorry, my apologies, I've lost it. Trisanti's also asked how long does it take to get your visa? So the visa process takes around 2 weeks. You can start the process before you get to the UAE, and generally you need to be in the UAE for about 5 to 7 working days.
Gary, I see a question from Muhammad Imran, who's saying, can we get the trade license along with doing a job in Dubai? I know a lot of people constantly have that worry or that question.
Yes, so you have two considerations here. So one, will the free zone or will the jurisdiction allow it? And two, contractually, will your employer allow it? So you may have heard of an NOC. So generally when you're in employment, to set up your own company or to do something else, you need an NOC from your employer. But a lot of free zones have dropped that requirement. So if you want to set up your own company, you can without an NOC from your employer. Now, separately and contractually, your employment contract might say something different. So it's a matter for you whether you want to do it and tell your employer, or whether you want to do it and take a risk. If your employment contract is silent on it and you're allowed to do what you want, then you don't necessarily have to have the discussion with your employer. So jurisdictions like Raquez, Meydan, those are the free zones that don't need an NOC, and the process is quite straightforward, and it is then a matter for you whether you want to have the discussion with your employer or not.
So Crisanthi is also asking, does Virtual Zone support business? I believe maybe it support business registration on Amazon UAE. So Crisanthi, just register your business with the Virtual Zone, and then come to us and we'll help you to register your account on Amazon. Don't worry about it. We'd love to help you with that.
Yeah, and that's really where the sort of package element comes into it. So we can help you with the business setup logistics. Crystal can help you with the Amazon logistics, and then you can actually focus on running your business. Like that's what you find here. Like a lot of your time is drained by things that you didn't think about or things that you don't know or learning. So that's why companies like ours and like Crystal's exist. It's to make it more convenient for you, to streamline the process, to get you there faster so that ultimately you can start making money sooner.
Yeah. Guys, keep your questions coming so that so I saw a good question, Gary. This goes to you.
Okay.
Shiva is saying that already applied for Maidan free zone. Do you recommend switching to silver package? Is that possible?
If you're interested in the 5 year visa, then yes, it is very, very attractive. It does have some requirements, so you have to have a degree. The degree will need to be attested at some point. You need to pay yourself over a certain salary. Um, so if you've not already kind of finalized the process with Maidan, then absolutely you can switch. Or if you are already too far gone, Maidan is also quite a good option for e-commerce. To be honest,
Mhm.
for e-commerce, Maidan would be the kind of
Yeah,
cost-effective go-to in Dubai. Um, for e-commerce, the cost-effective go-to in the other Emirates would be Ras Al Khaimah, in my opinion.
yeah. Yeah, Maidan is doing an incredible job recently. Shirley is also asking a question regarding the silver visa package and is saying, can you please advise which free zone it will be if she takes the silver visa package?
The free zone will be Ras Al Khaimah.
Mhm.
Ras Al Khaimah, yeah.
Did you check the question from Jean-Louis Whittinger? For partner visas, can you add to the titles like GM, PM, etc.? I have heard that you need these titles to apply for a credit card. Oh, credit card for your business. Partner investor visa alone cannot allow for this. Well, the credit card alone is a complete different subject, Jean Louis. But go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so like a lot of other countries, as soon as you own your own business, um, you're not assessed based on your personal finances anymore. You're assessed based on your business finances. So unfortunately, it's going to take around 2 or 3 years of success in your business and accounts and books and profit for you then to be able to apply for personal credit, or even business credit. So off this is a kind of a common problem at the beginning, that you want a credit card but you can't get it because your business has no trading history. So what you can do with the bank if you really need a credit card is you can make a down payment with the bank, which is usually 20% more than the limit they will give you, and then you can physically have a credit card if there are situations where a debit card won't be sufficient. But if you're setting up your own business, you shouldn't do so on the basis that you think you can immediately apply for credit, because unfortunately you can't. You need to, even if you're paying yourself a very, very high salary, the business is still assessed rather than you personally.
Yeah. So it's quite different, Jean-Louis, than what you would find in the US, where banks are just want to give you credit cards. Well, in Europe as well as the Middle East, it's quite different. Gary, we're getting a lot of questions related to whether or not somebody can have multiple activities under the same business license. The last one was from Dennis, and he's asking if it's possible to combine something like teaching yoga. Wonderful, Dennis. Let me know. I love yoga and selling products on Amazon, like an e-commerce activity under the same license?
Uh, the answer is yes, you can combine activities in certain jurisdictions, but that's a bad example because teaching yoga and it needs a very specific license through the mainland.
Oh, I didn't
So,
know that. Yeah.
so if you wanted to have e-commerce and you also wanted to have marketing, then yes, you could combine that. If you wanted to have e-commerce and some sort of consultancy, then yes, you could combine that. So it is possible to combine activities in the free zones. It's very, very difficult to combine activities in the mainland. And someone also asked as well, if you have a mainland trading license, do you need like a separate permit to sell online? The answer to that is no. if you have a trading activity in the mainland, you can sell online just by default. And Jane has also asked quite a complicated question about corporation tax, which I'll answer since she's been chasing me in the chat.
Yes, yes.
Um, so I understand that if I've registered a free zone company, I can sell to mainland clients through an agent, distributor, or logistics company. Does this fall outside the 95% qualifying tax exemption applicable for free zone companies? Yes, it does. So ultimately, if you're selling to a consumer, then you don't qualify for a tax exemption. So if you're doing B2C, unfortunately, you have to pay corporation tax. If you're doing B2B, then yes, there is potentially a tax exemption. For other activities, there can be a more in-depth discussion on corporation tax with someone who knows more about corporation tax than me. But for e-commerce generally, if you're selling to the end user, you have to pay tax. There's just no avoiding it.
Perfect. Smitten is asking, do you need licensing? I'm gonna, this is an interesting question. That's why I want you to answer it. Do you need licensing for makeup artists, like who are doing freelance work, or if you are like an influencer?
Yes, you actually need you need a license to do any business activity in the UAE. So whether it be a freelance permit, whether it be a free zone license, whether it be a mainland license, any commercial activity requires a license in the UAE. Now, I know a lot of people don't, they just sell on Instagram or they do various other things or they take cash in hand. That's not legal here. So we would always recommend that you get a license. So for a makeup artist, you could have a free zone license or you could have a freelance permit. For the other activity, I've lost it, sorry.
It's makeup artist or freelance makeup artist or influencer.
Yeah, for an influencer, you need a special license as well. So not only do you need a trade license as an influencer, you also need a National Media Council social media influencer permit, which is an add-on to the license. So those are both regulated.
Yeah. So Mireille Buzz is asking, I am a UAE resident. As a beginner seller on Amazon US, shall I require to register a company in the UAE, or this can happen at a later stage? So Mireille, you will require a license, a business license, whether that be in the UAE, like we were talking about me and Gary, or whether that be a US license is up to you. You need to see the pros and cons of both, the costs of both, the differences between both, so that you can decide. And depending on what you want as a business owner, do you just want to solely focus on the US market? Do you want to later on maybe potentially sell in the Middle East? So those things would be things that you need to think about in order to figure out what is the best setup for you, because you can register a US company, an LLC, and use that to sell on Amazon in the US, if that's what you want to do for sure.
And I think the questions are still coming in, but we're running out of time. So yeah. I think we'll conclude it there and say thank you very much. But I would strongly recommend that if you have any specific questions about Amazon, about different markets, about products, about how you could potentially make a business out of selling online, then you reach out to Crystal or her team. Once you have your sort of business plan or your business model, then we can help you structure it, whether it be a side gig, whether it be a large scale operation, whether it be coming from a different country. And when you close the application, you'll get a link to speak to one of my team. I recommend that you do that. And also we'll be sending out a follow-up email after the webinar today. So thank you.
Give us some good feedback, everyone, so that we'll do these webinars more often. We'd love to answer all of your questions and give you some guidance, and let 2024 be an incredible year for entrepreneurship here in the region. So yeah, that was very exciting.
Fantastic. And someone has just asked, will the recording be available? Yes, it should be available on our social media channels. so you can watch later. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Crystal, for your time. It's been very
Thank you,
informative.
everyone. Thanks,
Thank you.
Gary.
Bye.